and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April, Giant Ape Mansky, and I'm here today with...
Justin, he's a skeleton to Clue.
And Colin Cannibal Cunningham.
Hey, not
we
too
did
bad.
it. Good night, everybody.
There was a panic there. I was like, oh shit, how do I keep forgetting this?
So it's still Halloween. In fact, Halloween is in just a couple days. If you are watching this or listening to this,
is it on Sunday?
When it comes out, it is.
Wait, I don't know if I hear it too clearly though. Oh, there it is.
It's a full moon tonight, everybody. So we all got to pick a scary movie this month, and we finally got down to Colin. And Colin, what was your pick?
It's a little film called Night Train to Terror from 1985.
A little film. It's packed full of film. Literally.
It's almost like three films in one, or four.
It's a turducken of a film.
It's like four films and a music video in
yes,
one.
That's right. I will say, I mean, this is an oddity.
It is so weird.
I've never seen anything like this. I don't know if anything like this exists. Probably. There's probably
not under God's watchful eyes.
So,
the only reason this film exists is that God himself appears in it.
He does.
I will say, other than our Patreon episode on body bags, this is our first anthology movie on the episode, on the podcast.
Yeah, which is kind of weird.
On the main feed.
I was gonna say they're out of style, but they're back, baby, with the VHS movies and like ABCs of Death. And
I would make the argument that it's because anthologies suck. Like I don't like them.
I think that they definitely have potential. I'm sure we had talked all about this when we were talking about Body Bags, which Body Bags is two really good segments and one kind of okay segment.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot with these movies.
I think with anthologies, you're lucky if you can get one.
Well, what about Cat's Eye? Again, two pretty good segments, one really bad segment. And why is the bad one always at the end? Not the case with this movie, I will say.
Whoa. Are you trying to say that Cat's Eye, like evil demon troll thing, is the bad segment?
Yeah.
What? It had a cute cat.
It also had Drew Barrymore in
It's the title. It's the Cat's Eye.
God.
Yeah.
April.
But I mean, I'm sure that there are really great anthology movies.
Yeah, Creepshow. That's what people would argue.
Yeah, Creepshow's pretty good.
Yeah.
Creepshow 2.
I've actually
not
still
so good.
never
Not so
seen
much.
Creepshow. I think we watched Creepshow 2, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I missed the good one.
The first one is pretty good from what I remember.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, if your movie's 90 minutes, stuff like 5 stories in there. Don't give me 3. That's too long. That's like 30 minutes a story. No, thank you.
I feel like it can work, but the thing is, it has to be written to fit just that long.
Yeah.
Which is an issue.
I would argue you could take a feature-length film and edit it down to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like what happened in Night Train to Terror.
Oh my God! Are you the director of Night Train to Terror?
That's the problem with this movie. Is you're watching?
No, I didn't know this. Okay, so when the movie starts, I just thought it was an anthology film. I had no idea, and it becomes very clear within the first. So
you're like, is this a trailer for what's coming? Like,
no,
what's going on?
As soon as the first story started, within 30 seconds, I turned to April. I'm like, okay, this feels like a feature-length film that they cut down to 30 minutes. And she said, it is. They all are. And I had no idea that was the case. And I'm like, okay.
When you chose this movie.
Because, my God, the first story in this, but
it's nonsensical. But
we'll get to
we got to talk about the wraparound segment.
Yeah.
Well, not just the wraparound. So this film was, and I'm putting giant air quotes, directed by J. Schlossenberg Cohen, and so he does the wraparound segment, and he also, anything cool in this movie was added by him. So like anytime there's stop motion, that was added by him on the stop motion on the previous footage.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So that movie didn't originally have stop motion. Wow. So, see, that really injected those are the
best parts.
Yeah, a lot of life into
movie.
This movie. Yeah.
And what's fun about this movie is the writing credit goes to Philip Jordan, who I think he had something involved with almost all the movies in this, and he's famous because he was the front for blacklisted writers.
Oh.
So like he won awards, like Academy Awards, for scripts that he didn't actually write.
Okay.
He just was the accepted by the studio guy that the blacklisted writers would give him scripts to go sell.
I see. Okay. And then they would get a cut or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd be like, oh yeah, I wrote this. I have an Academy Award. It's like, you didn't write that. We know who wrote that.
Just give me the award, Mr. Heston.
And supposedly he would produce movies and just not finish them. So they just sit half there. And that's how you get something like Night Train to Terror.
Yeah, the first one especially. Okay, so we start off.
Well, what is the studio that made this movie? Because I'm assuming all three of these movies were done by the same production company.
Yeah,
that's why they're all
Philip Jordan, the screenwriter. I feel like he had a lot to do with them, but according to the director, there was none of his own money in it. It's just like private investors that became involved with it for all the different motion pictures.
The other movies were unreleased or often unfinished, right?
The first movie
did get a release eventually. Like you can find on VHS for most of them.
Oh.
The first movie, apparently the order is mixed up depending on the cut that you see. But the first movie was on the Tubi version that we saw is an unfinished movie called Scream Your Head Off. It was eventually released.
Great title.
Later, yeah. So the movie starts out, or the anthology movie starts out on a train.
A night train, if you will.
A night train.
And like most night trains, one of the cars is dedicated to a band playing one song. And only one.
Thankfully, it is the best song because you're going to hear it again and again and again.
It's like we're trapped in a hell of some kind.
Exactly.
I thought it was going that way, and it wasn't.
But apparently the band, they're like an 80s breakdancing band. My God, the fashions are so good.
The outfits are
incredible.
The hair,
the
and
lighting.
also, so they're performing this song in this train that doesn't even look like a train at times, and it's shot like a music video with cuts.
Are they shooting a music video? Because I don't think they're implying that, right? They're just dancing their hearts out.
But they're looking at camera like you do in a music video.
Yeah. So I don't know what this has to do with Night Train to Terror. It's just there. This is the wraparound segment.
It's just the 80s and it's fun. But I will.
Have you ever seen The Seventh Seal? You know how God and the protagonists of that, they talk and they see people dancing. That's like what's happening in Night Train to Terror. Because we were then introduced to the devil and God who are also on the train.
Yeah. Having a lovely conversation.
I will say about the music video, we knew that before we watched this movie.
Yeah,
we found it somehow on YouTube.
So I found out about this movie. Had never seen the movie, but I found for some reason on YouTube you can just get the cuts.
Super cut of all the music video stuff.
Yeah, and it must be 10 minutes long because it just goes on.
I know, but we've been watching that for years. We even played it for a party once, and it brought the house down. I would say, and I remember. My friend was like, "Where do you guys find this stuff?" I don't know, but then we never watched the movie. So I will say, because I had seen that sequence so many times, it did get annoying when I was watching the actual movie.
Well, I want to say that it's my favorite thing by far in this movie.
Sing us a little bit of the song.
Oh, it's like a song. It's called Everybody's Got Something to Do, Everybody But You.
That's
so
right.
It's like, Mom is on the telephone, Susie's at the mall. Everybody's got something to do, everybody but you.
Come on and dance with me, dance with me. It's kind of almost like a 50s inspired. Yeah, it's like a 80s pop song. Look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, it's like a 80s, 50s pop song with breakdancing. And my God.
You loved it. Couldn't get enough of it.
I loved it. It's the only reason I know about this movie. It sort of it just doesn't fit in this movie. It's so random. It's like, why is this here? Padding, I guess.
This whole movie is like a mishmash of things. Is it?
So the breakdancer in this sequence is I think he's like the son or the grandson of Philip Jordan, the producer / writer.
No wonder, because he didn't seem like an actor.
Yeah, because he was so good at breakdancing,
or a
right?
singer. He's just a breakdancer.
That's insane. So do you think he's like, Dad, I got a band.
The thing is,
put this
he
music
wasn't
video.
Charismatic when he looked like he was afraid of the camera.
I don't know.
Dance with me. And,
we should be afraid of him.
He dances. He dances so long.
He does. And it's like every segment, every movie that wraps up cuts back to them again, just going and going. And then you're like, okay, they're going to wind this down. It's like, no. And then
we're not winding this.
It's only getting wound up.
The third one is like the longest one. They have like this extended slow-mo scene of him dancing, and doing like the backspin.
He did the worm.
He does the worm. He does the head spin. It's like amazing. It's like, who is this guy? I want to see this movie.
But no, we have to get something about devil worshippers or whatever. That's
we're not at devil worshippers yet.
It's not even accurate.
At the beginning, Scream Your Head Off is the story of an insane asylum that is doing stuff.
Well, did you guys like the God and the guys who were playing God and the devil? Because I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're fine.
The guy who plays God is a little stiff, but I feel like they were brought in kind of as like, oh, I'm a stage actor, you know.
God has a great line where he goes, I can laugh and cry at the same time. That's why I listen to the music. And then it cuts to dance with me, dance with me.
What does that even
And I'm like,
mean?
is this making him laugh and cry?
It's called laughing so hard you cry. Everyone can do that, Mr. God.
You're crying from joy.
Yeah.
I thought the God and devil were actually, I recognize them. I think they're big name actors. Nobody in this movie is like a big name actor.
I looked up the devil. He wasn't in anything, I don't think.
No, the devil was like a friend of someone.
Okay.
While Freddie Main, he was a pretty prolific actor. He was in like Where Eagles Dare, The Fearless Vampire Killers, Conan the Destroyer. He was in a lot of stuff.
Really? The God character?
Yeah, the God guy.
Really? Oh, interesting.
But yeah, so they're in this car and like they have basically like a TV beside them. It's supposed to be like a window, and then there's this fake like stars in them. It kind of looks like the astrologer's like mirror.
The cosmic mirror.
The cosmic mirror. And then they're like, well, what about this story of Gail Cunningham? Let's watch, shall we?
Because they say the train is going to crash unless, I don't know, the rules seem very vague.
I think it's gonna crash at dawn. So they're just sort of discussing which souls they're gonna get or something.
They talk about their relationship a lot.
Yeah.
This ain't working out, God.
No. He's like, would you come back to me? I mean, come on. He says all these things.
Yeah. So, devil's saying, oh, my way's more fun. God's saying, oh, my way is forever. Yeah. Anyway, so then they go, let's take a look at these three stories. I mean, people.
Yeah.
And,
and we'll judge their souls.
Right. So the first movie, Scream Your Head Off, apparently in some versions, this is the third story. I think it works best as the first because it is so confusing.
I wouldn't want to end the movie with it. I'll put it that way.
No, the last story has all like the great stop motion monsters and stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah. It's really cool.
There's also a stop motion in the second segment as well, though.
Yep, there is. We'll get to that. The first one doesn't have any stop motion monsters. Very disappointing.
No, this first one is so incomprehensible the way it's edited, and this is where it was so obvious that it was a full-length feature.
I think the issue is it's just a complicated story that you can't cut down to 15 minutes or whatever they cut it 20 minutes maybe that they cut it down to.
And it's like every cut, it's just like a new location and new characters, and you're saying,
people
what is happening?
Who watched the full version that it's kind of boring and really padded out in its feature lengths.
Yeah,
I could see that, but like. You're introducing character. You'll cut to a scene where a character is like about to get murdered, and I'm like, I have no idea who this person is. Why are they here? What is this place? Who are you people? Yeah. That's all I could think.
I'll just say that the narrator is doing most of the heavy lifting in this story, tying everything together, making it somewhat comprehensible. But
at one point, just telling us what the ending is.
Yeah, exactly.
Allowing us to see it.
I think a lot of these stories just sort of end before the actual movies did, and then God and the devil have to kind of like, oh, they lived happily ever after.
Should I try and explain the plot to this?
Well, try, April. Do it.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so there's a guy who is a reckless driver. Mm-hmm. He kills his bride who's wearing a wedding dress, and he wakes up and he's in an asylum instead of like in jail or whatever. So he seems to have been abducted. And so
this is also one of those sexy naked asylums where they keep naked women.
A lot of nudity in this movie, like in all of the segments.
This one's pretty sleazy, this segment.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like a horror kind of sleaze B movie. Okay, so he's at the asylum, and then the evil female doctor gives him a drug that makes him compliant, so he does whatever they say. And what his job is to go out and seduce women to bring them back to the asylum. Kind of like the first Hellraiser. This reminded me of that. And he's so handsome. That's why they chose him, because he's handsome. And women just
flock to them.
Yeah, so basically all it has to do is give them a drink, and then it makes them pass out.
Yeah, he like roofies their drinks, brings them back. This is all like, you have to
it's all done in montage.
You have to put this all together because it makes no sense. There's like scenes of like a random couple showing up at the asylum. By the way, the heavy in the asylum is Richard Mole from Night Court. Bull.
Yeah, he appears in the first story and the last one.
Yeah,
which is weird. Which is weird. But yeah, so at the asylum, they get murdered. all the women get murdered.
Yeah, they're chopped up.
And I guess they're experimented on and then chopped up, and then they send their body parts out to medical schools.
They sell them to medical schools. There's like shots
makes
of
no sense, but whatever.
Shots of a big briefcase of money being slid across the table, and I guess the doctor is opening it up. Like, that's how
Where
it
do you
works.
think they get bodies, April? If not from wild insane asylum.
Don't the authorities have anything to say about these medical schools?
Are these medical students like, well, why is this
how is
leg
this-
like horribly hacked up? Like,
with a hacksaw?
The authorities are all paid off by big medical body parts corporations.
why is
so,
this
yeah.
skull all smashed? How am I supposed to
Authorities
practice
don't
on
blink
this?
an eye.
Big body parts.
So yeah,
Big
there's
body
this like
parts.
scene after scene of these women, these women getting.
We're all laughing when
hacked
like
up.
there's actual organ trading. That is a genuine
Yeah,
issue.
I know.
There is a black market organ market.
Yeah, but I think there's scenes of like Richard Mole like groping these naked women. I think it's like implied that he rapes one of them.
Oh, it ain't implied.
Yeah, it's really gross. And then he's like, there's one scene where he's, gets out the hacksaw and he starts hacking away, and the camera turns around, to show blood spraying on the wall and stuff. But you can see his silhouette, and he's not doing anything. He's just holding the hacksaw, even though the sounds are like.
Yeah, it's very poorly filmed.
Yeah, and then you kind of like see his like freezer room with all the body parts, but they're so badly, rotting and mishandled and all this sort of, like, what school would want these things?
It's just like, to what end? And then like the scientists seem to think that they're like doing some kind of like good for the world or something.
I don't know.
And then like the female scientist starts sleeping with the handsome guy, and this just happened.
He's too handsome.
And then he's trying to kind of like break free from them, and then she gives the male older scientist a lobotomy, and there's kind of a weird scene where where he tries to give her a lobotomy, but he's lobotomized, so he doesn't really know what he's doing. And
Don't you hate when that happens?
I know.
like it's so convoluted.
I know.
And to have all this info cut out, it's just so confusing.
There's just so many funny like little scenes where he's picking up the women. He's like picking up this blonde waitress at this bar, and he's like dumping his drinks, and he's like, I'll have another. And then he like slips this roofie into her drink, and then he just randomly picks up a blonde at the church. He just goes to church.
Also, the woman in the restaurant who's seemingly waiting for somebody, and he just walks up to her and hands her like a glass of wine or something.
You don't even see him. You just see this hand.
It's shot first person.
Yeah, this glass of wine comes out. Milady.
It's bizarre.
So then he tries to escape. There's like a big chase scene. He's, fighting with Richard Mole. There's a great decapitation shot in this where he cuts off Richard Mole's head.
Thank goodness.
And we have the wonderful like 5 frames before the decapitation where it's just like a paper mache head of Richard Mole. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Love it. This one ends really abruptly too, doesn't it? Where you're like, oh, I guess it's over.
Yeah, it does. I think he
remember.
decapitates Bull, and then you just see the lady scientist getting lobotomized, and then just cuts back to God and the devil.
So we don't even find out what happens to Handsome Man? Isn't he just like, he went on?
He lived
with his
happily
life?
ever after.
Yeah, they always say they lived happily ever after. Now, let's go watch that dance number some more.
Dance with me.
And they're talking to the old man. They're like, hey, can't we get some burgers and beer around here? There's no food on this train. What kind of train is this, man?
Some people call it the Heaven Express. Others call it Satan's Cannonball.
Great.
And it's like, wow, in both of those versions you die. So I don't know
Yeah.
if there's a win there.
There's it's implied that the band, I think they say later, is like, man, our car broke down on the way to
too
Las
bad,
Vegas or
right?
something.
When
So
we
it's
get
like,
to Vegas.
they just
So
hopped
we
on
took
this
the train?
The steam
Like-
train. I don't know. It's very weird.
It's just like that scene in Buster Scruggs where there's like the people that are in the carriage and then you
Yeah,
realize,
that's right.
oh, they're going to hell.
Yeah.
They stole it from this movie.
Spoiler for
Not
Buster,
that that's
Buster
not
Scruggs.
a well-known story device. I'm sure it's never been done before.
Never, ever. Buster Scruggs invented it.
It did. It's the Coen brothers. You gonna call them thieves?
Oh, I thought Buster Scruggs was just a film that came to life on its own without any...
Hey, speaking of an anthology movie.
Hey, there you go.
So this story ends and we jump into the next one, which is from a film that goes under many names, including Greta and what's the other one? It's like Death Club?
Yeah, there's
Death Wish Club.
There's the Death Wish Club, and then the Dark Side of Love, or Dark Side
Also-
to Love.
Carnival of Fools.
Okay.
Death Wish Club makes the most sense.
Now,
Wish
this
Club.
movie had 3 different directors over 3 periods of shooting.
Oh boy.
And all the cool stuff in it that we liked was added for Night Train to Terror. So there was a 4th director that came in.
Oh my God.
No wonder it's such a mess.
So wait, are they reshooting scenes with the actors again, or are they just adding?
No. So there's like a scene in the Greta segment, which is about like a woman trapped in like a, I guess a love triangle between like a young man and an older rich guy. And they have a seance. And in the movie, like the feature-length version, it's just a normal bug that kind of shows up.
Oh,
but in this version, it's a giant stop-motion bug.
They
and they are so non-pulsed by it, which is why they're not that shocked.
It is like
It's
something,
true.
yeah, it's like...
It also goes on forever, but I like
It's very
because I
long.
get to see this cool stop motion bug. But it's like it's this first person camera perspective again, but they put this giant bug
with
in
glowing
the
eyes.
forefront.
Yeah, it's gigantic. It's like 8 inches long. It's like
It's
they
like
call
the
it
size of your head.
Tanzanian winged beetle. But all the stop motion done by Robert Stromberg. There was a part in the third one where I was like, I'm getting Empire of the Dark vibes with the stop motion because the people, he'd do the people as well as little miniature stop motion people.
It's not the Empire of the Dark, guys.
It is.
It is.
It's Robert Stromberg.
Wow.
They had his name in the credits. Robert Stromberg went on to direct Maleficent. I think he's got like 2 Oscars for...
Okay, well, who cares about
Do you
that?
think
Empire
it was a
of the
meeting
Dark.
where he was like, can we do Maleficent all in stop motion?
Yeah.
Yes, they
His
should
work
have.
in Empire of the Dark is great. We should really review that because I've only
He's probably
seen
most
it
famous
once.
for Star Wars, I think.
Oh, I don't care about that. Empire of the Dark. That's where it's at. The Steve Barquette movie.
Yeah, well, he went on to be like Oscar-winning, I think like production designer or set designer or something like that. Did like...
And he worked on this movie.
Yeah, he did.
Wait, did he work on Star Wars? I'm looking now.
I don't know.
I feel like all those guys work on Star Wars. Oh, man, he's working on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness as a production designer.
Yeah.
Oh, but he also did Oz the Great and Powerful, so...
I think that's what he won an Oscar for.
Yeah, I think it was Oz the Great and Powerful and maybe it was like a Tim Burton movie or something. Alice in Wonderland.
maybe Avatar? He also did that.
And I think it was Alice in Wonderland.
You did mention he did Avatar too, though. So.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He's done a lot.
Yeah.
But okay, so the plot of this movie is it's confusing because it's
like
supposed to be about this like sinful woman.
But, you know, it's like she works at a fair selling popcorn. This rich old man comes up and just hands her a wad of cash. And he
So
goes,
she's like, okay.
shall we? And he tosses the popcorn away. So she goes on to live with him.
And she wanted to be an actress, so he
Yeah.
put her in a bunch of pornos.
Yeah.
And then
There's
a
this
young,
one-
handsome man.
There's this one scene, though, in this montage. It's really funny. It's like she gets with him to support her piano playing. This is the narrator saying.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of the old man playing the piano, and she's there wearing these like kind of like elbow length fancy nightgown gloves.
Okay.
Like they'd just been out in a night in the town, but she's eating this like ice cream cone.
Oh, yeah.
So disgustingly. She's like,
I gotta say, like she's gross. Like her teeth are like always like out, and she's always like grimacing and smiling, and she's off-putting.
She's living a hard life, April,
Yeah,
starring in
sorry.
pornography.
she was a carny.
Yeah,
She really missed ice
yeah,
cream.
the scum of humanity, the carny.
Sorry. But yeah, like she wanted to be an actress and a singer, so he puts her in gross porno movies, and
Yeah.
she just does it because that's the only work she can get. And then
We
her
cut-
love interest.
Well, yeah, we cut to a bunch of like quote unquote. Okay, I didn't know what was
The
what
frat
was-
house.
What was going on? But the narrator says it's a frat house. All these people look 40 years old.
Yeah, and they're in like the basement of a bar.
This
like a dirty saloon.
This frat house looks like a Western themed steakhouse. It looks like Ponderosa Steakhouse.
it ain't a frat house.
Or like-
That's just where they could film.
Or like Beefsteak Charlie's. It's like all wood panel walls and like road signs and stuff all up, hanging from the walls. All these guys
Did
look
you
like
have
they're
a frat
40.
house like that when you were younger, Colin?
No.
You're like Delta Psi, Delta. I don't know. How do frat houses work?
I don't know.
I've never
I ate a
been
pie.
in a frat house.
I was never in a frat house.
I was invited to a party once that was like I think hosted by a frat, but it was just in like someone's house. It wasn't like the frat house.
Yeah, I don't. Well, they just look like regular houses.
I recall there was a keg, but that's my only. And I had a friend who was in a frat, but other than that, I know absolutely nothing about fraternities or what they do.
They seem awful.
Other than what I see in movies.
Yeah, like why would anybody join a fraternity? They look fucking.
They
horrifying.
do it for the connections. It's just not what you know. It's who you know.
Yeah,
and
you have to be rich to do.
You
any
pay
of
to
those
be in
things.
it
and to have their balls stomped on.
Yeah. That's what I
Who's
learned
stomping
from
on their balls?
You know, Jon
Hazing?
Hamm. Jon Hamm got charged years and years ago.
What?
Yeah, you can Google this story.
He was in a fraternity hazing incident.
In a fraternity hazing incident, and then he would had like a claw hammer, and then he would like drag people around by their testicles.
Oh man!
And like,
wait, what with a claw
with
hammer?
a claw hammer.
Sounds like a slasher movie.
Yeah, I know. And
let's do it. The Jon Hamm story. It's like Jon Hamm goes too far.
you can look it up. You can just Google it. But yeah, and then the guy got really, really seriously injured, and then Jon Hamm was charged, and it was like,
I'm sure it was long before he was famous.
Yeah, it was.
Why is it like every like actor or celebrity is just an awful person, or they've done something awful? I guess
It's the only way you can make it
perfect.
to the top, April, is by being as terrible as possible.
I guess it's true, but it's like
Think of all the connections that he made in Hollywood in that fraternity. That's how he became who he was today.
Well, Jon Hamm is cursed, right? Because all he wants to do is comedy, and he's like,
Yeah.
no one, like, I keep doing it in bad movies.
he
Are they bad, or
didn't
is
make
Jon Hamm
it.
bad?
He didn't make it until I think he was in his late 30s when he did Mad Men. But it's true. He keeps trying to be a comedic actor, and it's just
he's a funny guy, but he's just like
he's just better at drama though.
I think he's very kind of charming and funny, but I think he plays when he plays like douchebag roles, like in Bridesmaids.
Honestly,
Perfect. He seems perfect for those.
He was
roles.
actually like even good in Richard Jewell. He played a douchebag in that,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's just what he's good at. Anyway,
Yeah.
how did we get onto Jon Hamm?
We were
fraternities.
talking about those Hollywood sickos.
So back to the Beefsteak Charlie's frat house. We're introduced to our love interest
So a bunch of 40-year-old men are all in the basement watching a porno together, as you do.
on like
You used to do that, Colin, right? Before television became the norm, you had to gather around a 16 millimeter print.
well,
They're watching it on a projector.
I'm not even. They're watching it on like 16 mil. I'm not even joking. But for my birthday when I was a kid, you could go to the library before like VHS or video or anything like that. You could rent movies on 16 mil, like from the library, along with the projector and the screen. And I remember
You brought the projector and the screen home?
Yeah, you'd rent it for like the weekend or
my
something.
God.
And I remember my parents like renting Citizen Kane on like 16 mil from the library and watching it on like a
Whoa, that's
On a
like
way
it was
projector.
meant to be
Or
watched.
And I remember for my birthday, we rented Hardware Wars. That was like a Star Wars spoof that was popular back in the 70s.
I never even heard of that.
And then all my friends came over and were watching Hardware Wars. It was
Have
like,
you seen
whoa.
Hardware Wars, Justin?
Yeah, it's not very funny.
It's
but
not
it was
very
like a
funny.
big cult thing.
Yeah,
at the
back in
time.
the day, it was like, oh my God.
I
this
just
is
wanted
the
to
greatest
make
thing.
sure this is like a thing that you didn't just
Like Colin
make
like
up.
hallucinated as a child.
I'm just making it up.
It's like a creepypasta. He's like, remember Hardware Wars?
Did
I walked
anybody
into
else
the
rent
room
that
and the kids
Hardware
were just
Wars
staring
movie?
at a blank screen.
Yeah, you were watching just a static screen.
Library?
Colin.
Well, that building's been empty for 40 years.
It's burnt. It's gone.
Burnt to the ground.
Anyway, so they're all watching a porno, and he sees this woman, and he's like, I must have her.
I'm in love.
No, yeah, he's more like, I'm in love with this woman in this porno. So he somehow finds her in a scene that gets cut, and they're just together in the next scene. I think they're on a date.
He goes to like track her down and stalks her at a club, and she's playing piano on stage and making these really weird faces on stage. Yeah, and then the
barely
very
touching
next
the
scene,
keys.
they're living together.
That's what I'm saying. She was kind of pulling these weird faces, but they're not living together. They're just dating because she's married to a rich guy.
I don't think she is because he brings in the mail and he says, "Oh, you got mail," and then
Well-
he goes, "Where did we get this piano?" And then she goes,
Well,
"Oh,
I
from a
don't know.
friend." And he's like, "Which friend?" Blah blah blah. So I think they're together.
Well, the details have been cut out, so we don't know.
Who knows?
But then it's like she's still with rich guy because he's like, oh, like they go to the carnival and then he's like, come back to me, what's your name? And then she's like, sorry, we're married. And then they start going to the death cult. So
we didn't mention that
together.
this is all about a like death cult
I know.
Russian roulette.
It takes
game.
a little while to get to what this movie is really about, and at first you just think it's going to be kind of like a love triangle, kind of like the second segment in Cat's Eye, where was it called, like The Edge or The Building or something, where he makes it's that situation where the girl is like cheating on her husband with the tennis instructor, and so he's like, I'll let you have her if you can walk around this building. Like, I thought it was going that way, and it kind of is.
Well, okay,
but it's
so
stupider.
The old rich man pretty much introduces the boyfriend to this death wish club, I guess. It's just like a bunch of rich, powerful people who are very jaded and bored with life, so they just...
God, I wish this existed and they were like killing each other every week.
They really reminded me of
like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates are sitting in a circle. It's like a loaded gun, or like their testicles in like a bear trap that they're like.
They come up with the most stupid ways to do this.
The movie makes it seem like the old man is trying to kill the boyfriend, but it's like, why just shoot him? It's very convoluted and drawn out.
Because the narrator keeps saying he only had revenge on his mind.
It's just the worst way to do it. So anyway, the first time he meets them all at this big, they're all sitting around a round table. One of them looks like Jimi Hendrix for some reason.
He's dressed like Jimi Hendrix.
He's dressed like Jimi Hendrix. And he even says like, excuse me, like later when he's dying.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a bunch of rich people that are bored and jaded with life, and they just want to put themselves. It's basically they're just playing Russian roulette, but
they want to have near-death experiences because what's kind of left unsaid is that it clearly gets them off.
Yeah,
it's like a sex thing.
Yeah.
They don't say that, but that's clearly what's happening. The old woman, is like, she's really into it.
I mean, but one of the death games is like summoning that stop motion bug we talked about, which then flies away and just kills a random couple.
Yeah, they bring it out in this bottle. It's huge, and it's like got these glowing eyes. It's like a big stop motion thing called the Tanzanian winged beetle. If it stings you, you die, but they have to leave the window open. He says, like Russian roulette, you have to leave some of the chambers empty, so it could kill one of them. Or it could fly up the window. Or it could
kill none of them. But the young handsome man who's like the only guy who's normal in this whole scene is like, oh, so it can go and kill some random person,
which it does.
Exactly, which is exactly what happens. Although I guess
I think his head explodes, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's like making out with his girlfriend or something. But this whole scene goes on so long.
It's really awkward though, because like the young guy is like, I'm just here for you, Greta, and Greta's like grinning and like her eyes are really wide and she's just like, I'm into this. And it's like, what? Why? What? Clearly like her husband got her into it, and like, so it's like the young fellow should really just walk away, but he can't. He's in love with her and he wants to win her.
He's all in.
Okay, so then we get to the next segment. And by the way, he's always being brought to these like games by this sort of Peter Lorre looking guy with like a gun. He's always being kidnapped in this movie and brought to these things against his will. And it just happens over and over again. So the next one is like they sit around in a circle. There's like they're like in electric chairs pretty much. And there's this
like the thing from The Simpsons.
There's like a talking robot for some reason.
That's in charge of the game.
What the hell is this?
So they got these like headbands on that's gonna shock them.
Yeah, and
you don't know who's gonna get it.
You turn on the power and then it's random and it kills somebody, but it's like, I am the robot. I will randomly choose someone. And it kills Jimi Hendrix. This is really funny.
Melts.
It's so great.
He like turns into a dummy. He's just like, it's like his eyes are popping out and stuff like that.
It reminded me of Chocolate Chip Charlie from the stuff.
I was gonna say that, but then I was like, that is a very specific reference.
Yeah.
Well, watch that movie.
If you take his puppet head, and then you shake it vigorously, it's like.
Do you think they just got the Chocolate Chip Charlie puppet head?
Yeah.
We just use it for this.
It looked similar, but Chocolate Chip Charlie, of course, had stuff flying out of his mouth.
Yeah.
This is just like
that was horrifying, by the way.
I love that movie.
Stuff is great. So yeah, for some reason his girlfriend in this scene, and I couldn't figure it out until the second viewing, but she has like short hair.
Okay,
she looks
it is her, right?
It is her. So in the full-length movie, at one point she overdoses on drugs and dies and is resurrected as a piano player with a different name. So for
my God.
for this one scene, she is a different character, and then
But then later she's back to being
the
herself
very
again.
next scene, she is back to being, the long-haired girlfriend again. So the scenes are maybe out of order or something like that. I don't know. So once again, immediately he is kidnapped by a gang of thugs who he karate fights for a bit, and then
there's like a bit of some martial arts
He goes
action.
into a karate stance and starts to he does like a
Did April have her arms crossed?
She did.
That
yeah.
is not a correct move.
yeah.
And then he's brought to the final test, which is basically they just lie on the floor in sleeping bags as like a demolition ball swings over their heads,
like a pendulum, and it's like it's got to hit one of us. And what we said was, no, it doesn't, because there's tons of space in between the people, so it could easily just fall in between two people.
But it doesn't.
No, it gets old lady in the head, crushes
And
her
then
head.
cut back to God and the Devil. And they're like, and then they lived happily ever after.
like literally.
Like,
They lived
wait a
happily-
minute.
like,
What?
This is so random. What the hell is happening? But then we get, come on and dance with me, dance with me. Don't.
And we're back in heaven, baby.
And this-
Come on, dance with me.
This is the extended music scene where he's like,
Oh, this is the breakdance.
yeah,
in
this
slow
is where he
motion.
goes in slow mo and he's doing
This is like
everything.
the director looked at the time and he's like, ooh, we're not even close to 90 minutes left.
Yeah.
Can we pad it out with something?
Have
It's like,
to make it
hey,
to 90.
why not put some scenes back in the first one so it makes sense?
Nope. Nah, we're not going to do that.
Now we're going to this the third movie, Cataclysm. It's called.
Cataclysm. That's kind of a cool title.
Ooh, and this is some real monster mush action.
Oh, yeah.
Now I will say I think that the third segment is by far the strongest.
Yeah, it's at least coherent.
It's also longer, so
Yeah.
you could tell that they were like, this is better. Let's give it a little more
it's
time.
coherent. So we start in Nazi Germany. There's a musical thing going on.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of Nazi soldiers celebrating. Some commander comes in who is turns out to be the big bad in the entire movie. And he says, your quota has not been fulfilled this week. And he guns all the people on stage down, and then he goes.
They're like women who are obviously from the concentration camp being forced to play for this banquet or whatever.
So, and then this woman wakes up in present time. She's having a nightmare, and Richard Mole, again, is her husband.
I liked him a lot better in this movie.
And he's a devilish atheist.
Yeah.
So
the
he's
worst kind of person.
He's a a Nobel Prize winning novelist, and he decides to go on television. They decided to put him on television and talk about his book, God is Dead.
Yeah, and he's he's done research.
Scintillating stuff.
He's done all this research, and he's like, I've come to the conclusion that Jesus Christ never existed.
Okay, wasn't there an actual book about this? I feel like this was a real thing that happened.
Yeah, there's a million of them, like Richard Dawkins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I know even Paul
Maybe
Verhoeven
I'm
was
thinking of the Satanic Bible or something, which is different because it's saying Satan is real and he's saying it's not real.
Yeah. So his point is, during that scene, by the way, it's really funny. They cut back to actually we're jumping ahead. we're kind of jumping ahead, but
well, is there more stuff with the wife, because she's apparently the main character of the story and she's not in it at all?
No. Now we cut to the old man. Cameron Mitchell, by the way, is in this movie.
Okay, Cameron Mitchell's my favorite.
We're getting to this scene, so we cut to present day. It's like this old man is his walls are in his apartment are kind of adorned with all these old Nazi photos of the guy that we just saw in The Dream throughout the ages. He sees him on TV.
It's just like Loomis,
and he hasn't aged at all, since The Dream. So he goes to his neighbor, which is Cameron Mitchell playing a police detective.
That was
or
his
something.
neighbor?
Yeah.
One could surmise that Cameron Mitchell could be drunk in this film. I'm not going to make any, broad claims.
No, I'm not. I'm going to say
Don't make any wild
he does not
accusations.
look drunk at all, and he's actually really cool in this film.
Yeah,
he's kind
I
of a
will
badass.
say I loved him in this movie. He comes in and he really classes this movie up.
No one has ever said that concerning Cameron Mitchell.
I know.
In the history of the world.
That's how I feel. Because, hey, he's turned out some pretty bad performances over the years, but he is by far the best thing about this movie.
He's trying in this one, yeah.
Yeah,
But
he's putting in full effort.
and he's pretty cool. He's like, he gives the bad guy a couple of monologues.
In the long version, there's a scene where Cameron Mitchell's at a bar and he starts dancing and he's like, fuck my life.
No.
What the fuck?
Yeah, but remember, the full version of this doesn't have any of the monsters in it.
Oh. Well, so they had to put something in there. So how about Cameron Mitchell dancing?
They giveth and they taketh away.
Well, the way it is now is that he's really just trying to investigate this thing that his neighbor told him about.
Yeah.
And he's really, really concerned about it.
Well, so he takes the old man to the ballet because he's like, I saw this guy on TV. How can it be the same guy that like killed my family? Blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of follow these sort of guys to a mansion. Turns out
he really looks like a vampire, but
he does.
He's not.
The big bad is really, really good in this. He has like a really cool look.
He's pretty good, but yeah, I mean, he basically has almost like white makeup on.
Yeah,
he's this very young guy, but he has this like ghoulish kind of presence about him.
So you think it's going to be vampires, and then they kind of follow him to the mansion. They all go inside, and then the old man sort of shows up later. He's going to kill him, so he kind of walks in on his own and encounters a demon head behind this like purple curtain. And it looks like the demon like punches through him.
So was the demon added?
Hey, have you seen the set for Spookies around here?
Yeah, pretty much.
The demon was in the movie. That wasn't one of the things that was added.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like, according to some reviews I read, people said like all the cool gore and monsters are not in the original version of Cataclysm.
Oh, okay.
Something had to be in there.
Yeah,
though,
but then
right?
it cuts to the morgue and Cameron Mitchell's there. It's like the guy's dead, and then we see the woman doctor who had a dream at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. But then we get so then Richard Mole's on TV talking about his new book, God is Dead. But then they cut to all the Nazi vampire people who are just demon worshippers or Satan worshippers, and they're all sitting around this couch like watching the program. It seems like everybody's watching Richard Mole's appearance on TV.
There were only 3 channels back then.
So you could watch The Love Boat, The Devil appear on television. I don't know, a Jerry Lewis telethon.
That's it. So everyone's watching it.
Yeah, then we're introduced to this defrocked monk. His name
Mr.
is
Papini.
Mr. Papini.
We love Mr. Papini just because he has a fantastic name.
Yeah, we were talking about Mr. Papini's rapini paninis.
What if he had to order a rapini panini? A very teeny one.
Would you like
that would
a
be very funny.
teeny rapini panini, Mr. Papini?
And yeah, he's just like this monk guy who's also like trying to unmask this like devil man.
I don't know if they're like a cult or whatever, but yeah. But then there's one scene where like we're at a nightclub.
That was cool. I liked the nightclub scene.
It's just like this big wide crane shot that goes by the dance floor, and there's a guy. He's dressed exactly like John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever. And
everybody was dressing back. I mean, you probably went through the John Travolta phase, right?
No.
The gigantic lapels. But anyway, this dance floor is so packed, and there's a guy that's like right on the edge, look like he's about to fall down the like upper level stair.
He's wearing this white suit, and he's doing these like huge big disco kicks.
But there's like no room to do them.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah, and then just like in this scene, the Nazi guy picks up some woman, brings her home. Cameron Mitchell's watching, by the way, from across the room.
Well, he's just doing some recon, and she's a waitress, and then
she's lying in bed, and then he's just sitting there taking his clothes off, and then he takes his shoes off and his socks, and he's got cloven hooves.
I knew that was gonna happen.
That was a great scene.
Yeah. And she's like, and then you cut, and then he just like dumps her on the road. Thank God her coworkers were there.
He dumps her off back in the parking lot of the club or something. And then Cameron Mitchell shows up. He's investigating the death of the old man. He gives them.
So I did some research, guys, and there is a very bad-looking puppet that shows up for one single shot when the old man and the other people die.
Oh, really?
But did they replace it for Night Train?
Oh, they completely replaced it in the Night Train Terror.
Oh,
thank goodness.
I know Vinegar Syndrome released this movie, Night Train to Terror.
Yes, they did.
And I think they included one of the full movies.
Greta, a.k.a. the Death Wish Club.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, I might want to check that out. I don't know.
I'm not buying that.
Yeah,
but,
I ain't buying that. Why not? I'm holding it in my hands right now.
Oh
yeah.
Well, you know what, Justin? If I came over for some kind of like movie night or something, and
I'm not watching Greta
and you
with
put Greta on, maybe I'd watch
No.
it. That's the only situation where I'm watching it.
Well, next, this is so one of the bouncers at the club where the waitress worked. He goes to the mansion to kill these guys, and this is a really cool scene. He kind of like goes through this velvet curtain, ends up in this like foggy realm. It's like the mist or something. It's really cool. And then there's like this big statue that comes to life, and this is really awesome. And this is where I was getting the Empire of the
It
Dark
looked
vibes.
pretty cool because we hadn't really seen anything quite like that, I think, up until that point.
No.
And then you get the claymation or stop motion guy too, which is what makes it so fun.
It's very funny, yeah. And the thing's got like glowing eyes and stuff.
Just like in Winter Beast.
Yeah.
Better than Winter Beast. But, that kind of
because
animation.
all the creatures, all the stop motion creatures in all three of these things have glowing eyes. Or the second and third one. So you're like, the same guy must have worked on them.
They looked the same.
And I think it's the case.
Yeah,
it's Robert Stromberg.
Exactly. No, you can tell.
Interesting.
So that was.
Do you think he still thinks about these stop motion things that he did?
I don't know. Like if you
hope
bumped
He's
into
like,
him,
I wish I could go back to the good old days of Night Train to Terror.
Well, some stop motion artists, they never get out of their backyard. He is now winning Oscars and stuff.
Yeah, but was cursed to make Maleficent. Like,
Yeah, not that
he's not having
allowed.
fun doing that. Let's be honest.
He's not
maybe he
allowed
did.
to do stop
hey,
motion.
that made so much money for him. You can do whatever he wants.
You know what? I hate to say it, but I don't think stop motion is ever coming back.
What are you talking about? No, it never went away.
What is it? What now is it in?
I don't know. There's like Leica movies or the what are those?
Leica, I
Wallace,
guess.
Oh, fuck.
Wallace and
Wallace and
Gromit.
Gromit?
Aardman Animation. I think they've gone all CG.
Yeah, but none
though.
of them make money. The studios think that stop motion isn't a viable form of doing stuff anymore.
They-
But that like Missing Link movie, that was stop motion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did very badly at the box office.
That's Leica as well, right?
that's
No,
Leica.
you're right. That is something that is right now.
It's there as an art form, but
it-
as far as like special effects or visual effects, it's not.
No, they're
you know,
not.
you
If a monster showed up in like a modern day movie and it was stop motion instead of CGI, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
And guess what? It would look just as fake.
Yeah.
I know, but
It's
I
like-
feel like people would be upset, or studios think people would be upset. People
But
think,
the thing
it
is
doesn't
I'm
look
trying to think
real.
of like a monster movie that had really shitty looking monsters in it.
let's
the
say
Tomorrow War.
let's say a Mortal
Like an
Kombat
Asylum movie, like Mega Shark versus
like a
I don't
Mortal
know.
Kombat versus Annihilation.
Yeah, if Goro was like stop motion, I'd be like, this is so good.
I would
Actually,
love
Goro looked pretty good in Mortal Kombat.
No, the second one.
Oh, yeah, I would love
No,
Goro.
I'm not talking about the remake.
Annihilation. He is talking
Yeah,
about
I can see
Annihilation.
stop motion in that. I'm trying to think of like what's a modern day movie that has like really shitty monsters in it.
I have a feeling like if somebody, I'm surprised they haven't done it like, the kind of like 80s retro or 70s retro. If they're
Like if Shang-Chi, like a stop motion dragon showed up.
Or like
Yeah.
Stranger Things,
I have a feeling like the whole movie would have to have that style though. Like you couldn't, Shang-Chi just,
guess.
Shang-Chi just looks a bit too slick and marvelly.
But we've talked about this before. Is that like, when do we accept that like CG's good? We accept CG, even though it looks so fake.
Yeah, but it has like a kind of modern slick look that matches the rest of the movie. Whereas I feel like if you just put a stop motion creature in there, it would be a weird.
You're saying you have
disconnect.
to have it kind of have a retro tone to it.
Like if the movie
A look.
looked like a
A
movie
weirder disconnect than like a big like CGI dragon.
No, I'm just saying if you're going to put stop motion in a movie,
Yeah.
the movie would have to have a kind of dated or retro look to it.
I say it doesn't. Just put the stop motion in it.
Well, like look at like how good stop motion is now with something like
Like you could do it good though.
if you
Like-
have
Yeah.
like the
I
artistry
think
and
of,
the money of
um,
Leica stuff.
like Dragon Slayer. That stop motion is wild.
Yeah, it's really good.
yeah.
Yeah, I just have a feeling like it would have to be in a more
I think that when we
stylized
think
movie.
of stop motion, we think of like Winter Beast or even what's in this.
yeah.
But I think of
But I understand what you mean, Colin.
I even think of like Psycho Gorman or something, like that whole kind of flashback cutaway where they had all the kind of stop motion, all these like different kind of techniques. I
Or
think it
what
worked
about
really
that
well.
scene in Mandy that Steve did, where he takes the acid and then it's like it's stop motion for
like the head
10
melting
seconds.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
it can. You're right, it can work, but that is a kind of higher budget B movie where if it's in the dream sequence like that, it can work. But I'm totally agree with you, Justin. Like,
I mean, I'd love
bring
to
it
see
back.
it. First of all, I'm not saying.
I am afraid though it's just not going to happen like ever.
Well, it'll never happen ever. So.
No, it'll never happen. They're not unless somehow someone makes a horror movie with stop motion elements and it's a massive hit, like
Yeah.
Bofo box office. That's when it would come back.
I have a feeling like James Wan could do it or something.
Yes.
Like it almost feels like some of the shots in Malignant had that vibe. It's like
what? James Gunn could probably do it.
He probably could, yeah, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
hey, Wes Anderson has used stop motion.
I'm just saying,
in
like,
his
it could.
movies.
Yeah, for sure. There you go. I could see it like in certain stylized movies. I think it would have to fit within the
but I know
tone
you're
of the
saying
movie.
it's like they're not just going to have like stop motion monsters in like the Tomorrow War or
exactly.
Bad Boys 10 or whatever. But
for sure. Although I would love to see it in Bad Boys 10.
Bad Boys versus a bunch of stop motion monsters.
Bad Boys 10,000.
Who wouldn't want to see Will Smith fighting stop motion monsters?
Okay, so who can remember how this segment ends?
Well, basically,
because I can't.
She ends up in a church, and the priest says, "Look, I'm giving you a box.
Oh yeah,
that's made from the crucifix of Christ, and if you can cut out the demon leader's heart and put it in this box, then
he's the devil's son.
He's the devil's son." And then she captures this Nazi demon guy in the way that the best way that you can. It's just running him over with a car. Brings him into the surgery room and like chains up the surgery door. Like, do not come in here.
And she like cuts open his heart, but like he's like using his like demon powers to make like wind and stuff happen.
Yeah, and then she removes his heart, puts it in the box, and then he does the old switcheroo. He reveals that he's been like tricking her mind the entire time, and she's
don't like that. That's the worst trick a supernatural movie can pull.
She's like, what you were watching apparently was not happening at all.
Why? Because you feel tricked, Justin?
No, because it's like then nothing matters. You should just kill them at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
That Oculus does that, where it's like, what is real and what is not?
Yeah.
It's like, why do I care about anything happening if everything can be fake?
I somewhat agree with you, but I loved Oculus. I thought it was really fun.
It was okay.
I was okay with that aspect of it because it made me feel like I couldn't. You feel like uneasy, like, but I know what you mean. It's like, well, then it takes.
Why are they trying to do anything then?
Yeah,
if they can't. Yeah,
but we don't know that at the beginning of the movie.
Well, at the end here, yeah. So he reveals the switcheroo and then kills the doctor. But hey, and then the movie ends. Not a downer because we've got a musical interlude.
So she
dance with me,
the only one of
musical conclusion.
She's the only one. Like in the reality of this movie, she's the only one that dies at the end of her story or whatever. But he's like, and then she lived forever in heaven with me because I'm God.
More important.
I checked, and that's how the original movie ends too. An hour and 40 minutes into the running time.
Well, then we've got So we go to a nice, amazing musical interlude. We have more breakdancing. It's really fun. The train is crashing, by the way. It's now dawn, and we cut to like this cute little miniature train. It's like a little toy train set, and lots of stock footage of like just a random train on fire, burning. We
just cut to like a stock explosion.
Yeah, and then we cut to
we see the band just dead. Some of them mid breakdancing,
mid guitar playing.
They're all just kind of
he's still playing guitar though.
They're all just kind of like lying, around the train car.
And then the shot of it, the train.
No, we cut back to God and the devil, and it's like, hey, how are we going to divvy up these souls? And then God's like, all right, you do your thing, I'm going to do my thing. The children and the poor and the weak will be mine forever.
And you can have the sinners.
The sinners and like the
people
greedy,
who drink and do drugs
people.
And listen to rock music, I guess.
And the movie's over. You think the band is dead? No. We've got another musical interlude.
Yeah, they're back.
They're back, and they're breakdancing again.
Because they can't stop rocking.
They cannot stop rocking. And then you see the exterior of the train go into heaven or something like that.
In this like really cheesy like star field.
Yeah.
And it just flies off into outer space.
Yeah.
It's going into heaven.
We keep rocking. That song just keeps going.
We're going to keep on rocking forever.
Come on
forever.
And dance
all the way to heaven.
Oh. And that's Night Train
all
to Terror.
80s rock bands go to heaven.
Yeah. What a weird movie. What a weird movie.
Like I said, it definitely is an oddity. And I can't say like I regret watching it. It's definitely not great. But I've never seen anything like it, really. So I really would recommend it if you're just up for something weird. But like definitely go into it with the expectation that you are seeing 3 incomplete movies. And they can be very frustrating at times.
Especially the first one.
Yeah.
The other two...
I mean, isn't that life? Is it really true stories from A to Z? Or do we just live under God's will, not understanding what's going on?
You're such an apologist for these people.
It's so funny.
For these people. Yeah, I'm a big apologist for Blacklist fronter Philip Jordan.
You have these like 3 like movies that were probably all terrible on their own, but they've been attempted to be resurrected by taking the good parts out, I guess. And then you have like the God and the Devil combos, which are not bad. Mm-hmm. And then you have the fun like rock band stuff. So there is a lot to like here, but overall, I mean, it's an incoherent mess.
Yeah, but hey, good breakdance numbers.
Love it. Great breakdance. Actually, pretty bad breakdance numbers. Let's be honest with each other.
They're entertaining.
Anyway, this movie is available on Tubi. Mm-hmm. In the Canada, maybe in the United States too.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Did you say in the Canada?
I did, yeah. In the Canadian states, in Canada. So
wait. Canadian states.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Oh no, April, have you been getting the Cheetos again?
No, she's been drinking a Psycho Gourmand beer, and it's like 7% alcohol.
We bought Psycho Gourmand beer. Okay, so
wow, the Psycho Gourmand beer.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
I want the Psycho Gourmand, bookshelves and stuff like that too.
Yeah, they have them at IKEA. They're called the Circus with like umlauts.
From Chronicle Brewing. Okay,
the Gourmand.
All right. Well, if you want to email the podcast, we're at nosuchthingasabadmovie@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter at nosuchthingpod. And if you feel like supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/nosuchthingasabadmovie. If you subscribe to us on the $5 level, you get a bonus episode every 2 weeks. We just recorded one on the second movie in the epic trilogy that everybody loves, Halloween Kills.
And it'll be out the week after Halloween.
It will.
Get you in the mood of November.
Yeah. Yeah. It's coming out in November. But yeah, so grab your zesty popcorn and listen to that if you are so inclined. And if you want to find me, I'm at April Atmansky on Instagram and Twitter. And I also did a guest spot last week on a episode of The Place to Be, a Seinfeld podcast. Are you a Seinfeld fan? I'm a big Seinfeld fan. So I asked if I could be on this podcast, and they lovingly allowed me to be on it. And
please,
it was
let me on your podcast.
It was a great time. I had an idea to do an episode on the best one episode characters, and it was a ton of fun, just like reminiscing on our favorite characters who only appear in one episode, and there's so many good ones. So you can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts can be found. Once again, it's called The Place to Be. Check it out.
Did you see that someone posted the pilot of an all Newman show, like a sitcom starring Wayne Knight?
You're kidding.
But was he?
Larry Charles directed it too.
Was he playing Newman?
Like a variation of Newman.
I didn't see that, but I mean, if Larry Charles directed it, then it's probably in the same. It's probably very dark.
Did somebody post it on Twitter or YouTube?
I think it's on YouTube.
I haven't even heard of this. Is this new?
I've never heard of it before. I'm looking now. Wayne Knight pilot. It's called. I don't know what it's called. I just see unaired pilot for Wayne Knight show.
I gotta check this out. Thank you for the info, though.
Oh, Middleman, it's called.
Middleman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't heard of it.
So you can follow me at Decloux, DECLOUX, letter J. Follow me on Letterboxd, Justin Decloux, DECLOUX. I don't know why I said it twice, because it's spooky. We're stuck in a time loop.
Oh, no.
And you can also listen to me on the Important Cinema Club podcast every week.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. Sorry, you caught me off guard. My name is Colin.
Yes, we know that.
Sorry. You can follow me. I'm like reading an email. I'm trying to think. You can follow me on Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA. That's it.
So that's it for Spooktember.
Now we're serious next week.
Spooktober. So back to your regular scheduled program. But hey, I mean, there's nothing stopping us from doing fun horror movies at any time of the year. And then before we know it, we'll be probably doing some Christmas themed things. But we don't got to think about that now.
I've already seen Christmas commercials on TV.
Really?
Yes.
It's not even Halloween yet.
There's been Christmas stuff in the dollar store aisles for the last month.
That is
my
insane.
God.
Oh my God.
I'm not ready yet.
Wait, you're seeing Christmas commercials? Are you watching cable, Colin?
No, on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's where we watch our commercials.
It's crazy. It's the only place I see commercials.
Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. I am April Atmansky, otherwise known as April Big Giant Ape.
You got it.
Yes.
You can. My name. I was gonna say you can call me Justin. 2 children skeletons standing on top of each other to clue.
Do they have a coat over?
Yeah, they have a coat. So you think it's one
okay.
big one? It's actually spooky.
Colin Cannibal Cunningham.
Did you say Colin Candyman Cunningham?
Oh yeah, now I did.
Okay, there you go.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.
But I say it like Sammy Davis Jr. Candyman.
Candyman Can.
That would be. That should have been the name of his biopic, the Sammy Davis Jr. biopic. The
Oh, I thought
Candyman.
the Tony Todd biopic, The Candyman Can.